Okay, so this year's exam predictions are going to be quite different. I have done up the totals, but the 2023 paper was more of a topic test on equilibrium, so that was kind of skewed the data quite a lot. It also mimics that particular paper that had very low cognitive questions. I have done the numbers here, but I'm going to take a very different approach this time. So what a little bird told me, I have a rumor going on that QCA has been told to concentrate on the gaps, things that have been tested before. So we've got four papers now. So basically anything that has been repeated on those four papers, you will have done those four papers, of course, before you do the exam. So I'm not using the experimental probability this time because I think the rules have changed. We're going to concentrate on the gaps instead, and the stuff that isn't gaps, you would have had enough practice on anyway. So I think for the 2023 paper, it was more of a case of using God mode, which I have a video on the website, and it just talks about. You'll see it when you watch the videos. It just talks about how to try and make sure you get the answer fully correct. And then also get the answer correct if the question's wrong or if the mark scheme is wrong, which you're never going to be able to get away from. So just deal with that. And so here we are. These are the ones that are rarely or never being asked. And my favorites are here because I think they're good questions that show a lot of cognitive ability. So doing more difficult equilibrium questions. Equilibrium has been done to death, but they don't really do Q or they don't really raise the cognitive level up to the Year 12 standard. Um, the explanations of how a buffer works, why pH equals pK for indicator or pKa is pH, half the equivalence point. The pH at half equivalence point with the equations. So subbing them into the Kas to show and explaining that this is why it's half half at this area, etc. Doing proper equilibrium questions with conversions between Ka, pKas, and POHs and rices and the proper assumptions and everything. So there was like 20 marks of equilibrium, but it was all the same and really low level stuff, and not really testing to the full ability that Year 12 should have. Titration calculations, because they just should be a standard bread and butter. Um, if you can't do stoichiometry, you should be penalised for that, and understand it in a complex situation as well. Often not in the test. So I probably should highlight that as mandatory. But anyway, the pH at equivalence point is probably the hardest thing you could probably do. That is a lot more complicated than you realize, because you've got to realize what's at the equivalence point. It's peroxylatic acid base. You've got to reverse it. You've got to convert the Kas over and do all the calculations for that. That's not reading off the graph. Okay. Um, balancing redox reactions. Don't know why they don't do that more often. This is my favorite, products of electrolysis. What's the point of learning electrolysis if you can't work out in a complex situation, because nothing's ever pure, what is going to come out of it? And for some reason, they shy away from this. I've seen questions on copper purity. I put a video on that. The Victorian paper asked that last year, and they did terribly. I think the average was 1 out of 5. But it was very good. That was a solid mixture for copper purity. It was a very good question, but products of electrolysis is all throughout the syllabus. Um, I've shown in videos that normally they don't ask anything above halogenoalkanes, so they never even ask the names of esters. They're just not game enough to do it. Nitriles. Don't stop there. Put two functional groups in and do a bit more cis-trans stuff in there, which they have done pretty rarely. Electrophoresis of amino acids also shows a much deeper level of acids and bases and um, forces and just incorporates electrolytic cells in there in some way. Like they're just two great things to ask. And then the combined mass spectroinfrared questions, which they've asked rarely as well, not completely absent. Okay, so be ready for those. In QCA, please put them in there. Um, I'm pretty confident you will. All right. See you later.